Bruce Willis was more than just a famous actor. He was a phenomenon, a force, and a model for the contemporary American hero. He commanded every screen he came into contact with in the late 1980s and early 1990s. He didn't have the physique of a conventional action hero. He was not unbeatable. He was not flawless. Unlike today's superheroes, he was not molded. He was bleeding. He hobbled. He cracked jokes in the face of death. And for that, crowds adored him. However, he is spending his last years fighting a foe who is far more ruthless than any evil his characters have ever faced. This is the same man who previously leaped off exploding rooftops. This is the tale of the legendary Bruce Willis, the husband, the parent, and the man who gradually fades into the background. Tragic stories are thought to start with a dramatic event, but it began gently in Bruce's instance. He started to forget little things. He had known the name for years. A conversation line here, a dinner appointment there. Emma, his wife, choked it up due to worry. Bruce has never been treated kindly by Hollywood. The grueling travel schedule, the action-packed roles, and the long hours. His health and mind suffered as a result. One morning, however, she discovered him standing in the kitchen with a coffee mug in his hands, gazing at it as if it were something he had never seen before. "Bruce, are you all right, honey?" He glanced up, grinning bewilderedly as he tried to recall what I had in mind. Such moments increased in frequency. Small mistakes that pointed to a bigger issue. Bruce's co-workers were the first to recognize the warning signs, but the rest of the world was unaware of them. Bruce raised a prop gun ahead of the line during an action movie, set in an abandoned factory in late 2019. The actors were still moving into their roles. Lights were being adjusted by crew workers. Bruce's hand clenched and the gun went off, but no one was expecting the shot. Everyone was shocked as the blank round burst into a concrete structure. The director stopped. There was silence on the whole sound stage. Bruce blinked, perplexed. He seemed unsure of what had just occurred as he surveyed his surroundings. Concerned, uneasy, and uncertain about speaking up, crew members looked at one another. Insiders understood the situation wasn't miscommunication, yet it was dismissed as such. Quiet modifications were made after that day. They replaced the rifle with a rubber model. Bruce was to be accompanied on set by additional handlers. He cut his lines short. Rearranging schedules prevented him from being exhausted. Ignoring the unstated truth was getting more difficult. Bruce was having trouble. However, no one ventured to inquire why. Doctors ultimately gave the turmoil a name in early 2022. Aphasia is a disorder that impairs communication, language, and word choice. Bruce was able to comprehend what others were saying, but his brain was unable to come up with appropriate answers. Emma sat next to him while the doctor went over everything. Bruce's gaze was unreadable as he stared straight ahead. He had never been so shaken by an action sequence, an explosion, or a stunt. He had no fear of death. He feared he might vanish. Then the actual blow struck. Subsequent scans showed something much worse. His brain's frontal lobes are gradually being destroyed by a degenerative, incurable sickness. FTD, or frontotemporal dementia, was already progressing. Emma's lungs began to empty. For the first time in decades, the hero was at a loss for words as Bruce reached for her hand. In March 2022, the family sent a message to the public. Fans anticipated shock, but what transpired was much more significant. Sadness mingled with intense devotion. The tributes came pouring in for months. On Christmas, Die Hard was once again performed by theater chains. Behind the scenes, accounts of Bruce's kindness were revealed by the producers. Videos of their favorite moments were shared by fans. The famous Yippee, Harry Stamper bidding farewell in Armageddon, and Hans Gruber plummeting from Nakatomi Plaza. However, beneath that worldwide display of affection, Bruce's life was subtly dwindling. His speech got disjointed by the middle of 2023. Talks came to a standstill. Halfway through, sentences trailed off. Though occasionally the wrong memories arrived with the wrong faces, he was still able to identify his daughters. He would refer to them by childish nicknames that they had outgrown or mix up recent occurrences with those that occurred decades ago. His world turned into a labyrinth. His family served as his mentors. Emma lost more than simply her husband. She turned into his anchor, his caregiver, and his shadow. Where his glasses were, she foresaw what Bruce could no longer do. How to refocus him when he felt overburdened. How to soothe him as frustration escalated into terror. How to preserve his honor while the illness tore away parts of him. Mabel and Evelyn, her two kids, were witnessing their father swallow fading memories, like sand passing through fingers. But she also had to raise them. How do you tell kids that their father is gradually losing his memory of them? The faces he used to kiss goodnight might not be familiar to him in the future. Emma tried her hardest to preserve their environment, arranging game nights, family dinners, gentle routines, or anything else that might foster moments of intimacy. But under duress, even the most resilient hearts break. Bruce's condition deteriorated to the point in 2025 when receiving expert care around the clock was no longer a possibility. It was essential. He had trouble moving. Even in his own house, he lost his bearings. At night, he wandered. Basic safety cues were lost on him. Emma had to make the most difficult decision of her life. Bruce was relocated by her to a special home, designed for neurological sufferers. The internet erupted in condemnation. She was charged with giving up. However, they were blind to the night she sobbed in her car before going to see him. The sacrifice, the fatigue, the guilt. She wasn't going to leave him. She was protecting both him and their girls from a world where medical crises had taken over. She came to see him every morning. He recalled her face every night when she prayed. Online speculation became heated in the middle of 2025. People said that Bruce was being exploited, that he was being concealed, that his ex-wife Demi Moore was covertly taking care of him because the rest of the family wasn't, and that his wife and children were fighting over his fortune. Emma finally said something. The truth, she added, was much easier. A blended family, they dealt with a devastating disease with love rather than drama. Demi frequently came to visit. The older daughters continued to be quite active. Emma learnt a harsh lesson, but rumors spread more quickly than reality, and no one left. Tragedies are loved by people, but they are rarely understood in their true context. Bruce starred in almost 20 movies during the course of 4 years, from 2018 to 2022. Many of them were hurried, low-budget, and intended to leverage his name as a promotional tool. Later, crew members acknowledged that they were told to accommodate Bruce's illness. Through concealed earpieces, lines are fed, scenes shot in small bits, minimal amount of action. The majority of the physical movement is performed by body doubles. Missed cues and blank steps are edited around by directors. No one person took advantage of it. It was the burden of an industry that had no idea how to halt the machine once it got going. They did not see Bruce Willis as the man who was suffering. He was a guarantee, a brand, and a source of income. The cameras continued to roll even after he asked, "Why am I here again?" while standing on the set. The remarkable portion comes next. When the director called for action, something miraculous occurred even as his thoughts drifted. A flicker, a spark, a piece of the Bruce that everyone knew. He would say something at an unexpected moment. He would smile crookedly. With the swagger of a young man, he would enter the picture. For a little moment, he was himself once more. Even though it didn't last long, his family treasured those moments. Evidence that the man they loved was still present, although briefly. Bruce's environment had calmed down into simplicity by the end of 2025. He listened to music in the mornings, particularly the old jazz and blues that he used to play while preparing breakfast. He liked taking walks outside with help. Even when he was silent, he frequently grinned. He held on to the comforting routines. Sunlight through windows, cozy blankets, and warm tea. Though not always by name, he was nonetheless able to identify his daughters by their presence. His head was still resting on Emma's shoulder. Old family videos still made him giggle. His loving impulses persisted even while his memories were fading. For decades, Bruce Willis taught the world what it meant to be brave on screen. He is now teaching us a completely other kind of bravery that is based on vulnerability rather than explosions or audacious rescues. We can learn from his story that strength isn't always obvious, that rather than condemnation, families dealing with dementia should be shown compassion. Industries need to safeguard their aged stars, that everyone is brittle, even myths. Love is able to endure beyond memory. Bruce Willis will be remembered for the fire he brought to each chapter of his life, not for the way his story ended. Bruce is 70 years old. Although irreversible, his condition is stable. He has girls, family, caregivers, and a wife who has stuck by him despite everything else. Millions of people remember his best performances, even though he may not. Bruce Willis will always be remembered for inspiring us to believe that anyone can be special, that bravery doesn't need superpowers, and that a hero may break, bleed, and still stand tall. And he is still a symbol of strength today, even when he is silent. Because love endures beyond the passing of memory.